My name is Rich Kosick. I'm a class of 2005 graduate from Lockport, and I now work at DLA Architects. To come back and work on my own school, it's really fun and exciting. It's nostalgic, especially coming back through here, because it does look very similar. It's almost, I'm coming up on the 20-year reunion, so it looks very similar to how I remember it. There's plenty of infrastructure things if you consider windows, windows and doors, ADA accessibility, HVAC. That's, I know, a big one, just having proper air conditioning and ventilation. And the older systems are less efficient, take up a lot of space. The newer ones are much more compact and more efficient. A couple things to consider. Older buildings, typically, they didn't insulate the exterior walls. They were just brick and mortar and no insulation. Also the glass being single pane in some instances without a thermal break inside the glass. Certainly the new ones have much better performance. The glass as well as the frame, the window frames themselves now have thermal breaks in them which stop the transfer of warm or cold air inside to outside. So just kind of the whole system as a whole, even the seals around the windows after however old, 50, 100 years, the seal around them may not be perfectly weather tight as well. So kind of the whole package. And actually if you can see, those are kind of blocked out. So there's even opportunity to get more natural light. Kind of the openings, I'd assume we just replace the windows in kind for the most part, so that would potentially give access to more natural light. Probably over the years it's gotten covered up because it got hot in here because of the window itself, but maybe now with new improved windows and new shading, might be able to get some more light into some of these spaces too. So that certainly helps. The envelope is very important for that energy efficiency. Boilers are generally pretty efficient in that regard. They're heating up water and moving it around. But in terms of cooling, there really isn't any kind of centralized air system. So that certainly makes it hard with just univents or window ACs, which, as you've probably heard, create condensation, things like that. So without a proper system kind of filtering that in and out, air in and out, and controlling the moisture and any kind of condensation that might come from that. So just kind of the whole system as a whole will just improve everything really. Certainly we got to figure out what system makes the most sense for the building. We don't know exactly what we're dealing with, or the budget we might have to work with. All these systems come with different costs as well. The price of a unit versus how much copper you got to run. Copper is a big part of that, the cost of copper, so long runs of copper might increase those costs. When we had all our meetings with students and staff, they need outlets. Obviously, every kid with one-to-one devices and Chromebooks and all that, and phones and iPads, they all need power everywhere, and with this being such an old building, there's limited access to those outlets, so getting as many outlets as possible everywhere is certainly an update much needed. The main thing I know with the bathrooms is they're just small, they're not ADA. So, at least conceptually looking at opening those up. So, creating as much space for those, making them ADA. Certainly an issue is getting larger bathrooms and more inaccessible. Some of the classrooms, it could be as simple as a facelift. Flooring, ceiling, paint, getting some vibrant, exciting colors. So it starts with just a basic facelift of the classrooms. One of the issues in the building is some of the classrooms are really small. They're down to 400 or 500 square feet. Typically we'd see 800, 850 to 900 for a typical classroom. Some of those are really compact, which just doesn't give much room for movement, flexibility, things like that. A lot of the flooring, instead of the old VCT with wax, we look at VCT or linoleum, things like that are no wax products that don't require the yearly stripping and waxing and maintenance. So, and they're a little bit softer, more vibrant colors, so there's more fun options with that. So, some of those new flooring options. The walls, typically we like to do drywall when possible if it makes it feel more homey as opposed to cinder block walls or CMU masonry walls inside. So, bringing in some warmth to make it feel more homey, and certainly the color that comes with that. Otherwise, we like to introduce wood whenever we can, or wood look products, sometimes for ceilings. We know there's already a lot of wood features in the building, so I think finding a modern way to complement that. Each project is just so dependent on the existing character of what we're doing. So in a building like this where there's already a historic nature kind of set up, we'd want to find a way to kind of marry that between modern and historic. We work with a lot of schools. It's very rare do we put anything too extravagant. It's mostly about function and maintenance. We're always thinking about long-term maintenance, for the maintenance staff. Like I said, without stripping and waxing, things like that. So durability and economical is always at the forefront, for sure. Some other things that are certainly lacking are collaboration spaces. There's really minimal either student collaboration or meetings when students meet with teachers, things like that, for students to break out in small groups. So things like that. 21st century education is typically what we refer to that as, but it's kind of learning outside of a typical classroom. So those spaces especially, getting some of that. There's one elevator in the building now. We want to look at, is there another spot or two spots where an elevator makes more sense? We'd certainly look at ramps. The goal would be to have an ADA flat access on each floor, ultimately, so that no one had to go all the way around the building to get to an elevator. We've certainly done this many times at other projects. It's a puzzle that we got to solve as well, but certainly the technology part is the most challenging. Without electrical and data run through the building, it's the district's probably done that all themselves over the years, in-house, just running cable and Wi-Fi and all that kind of stuff around the building. But sometimes those old thick walls make it hard for wireless to get through, so you need more access points, things like that. With better windows, proper HVAC control, all those systems just being more efficient, a new roof with better insulation, things like that. That's all going to just help the envelope of the building and the energy consumption of the building. LED lighting as well. So all those little things will lower the long-term operating costs of the building. It certainly needs its updates to keep it feasible for another 50, 100 years. But it's awesome to come back. Still trying to find a picture of myself on the wall, but I haven't found one yet.